YouTube, how are you now? So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just released a update with some weapon balancing. So we're going to be going over the weapon balancing changes and how it affects the time to kill charts here. So if you're new to this, these time to kill charts basically just have all the stats from the guns. So you have your weapon, you have your ADS time, aim down sight, your sprint to fire, reload, bullet velocity, rate of fire, damage per second, and then your damage and the ranges they go out to. So this is still a work in progress as I'm still gathering some of the stats, because the in-game stats only give you the base damage, so the first damage and then the damage drop off, and then also the farthest damage range drop off as well. So as I'm gathering more stats, I've been adding and updating to this chart. So these are just all your basic stats for all the weapons. So you have assault rifles, battle rifles, SMGs, LMGs, marksman rifles, sniper rifles, shotguns, pistols. And then you have your time to kill charts here for 150 health, which is multiplayer, and then 300 health, which is presumably Warzone, if you have 150 base health plus 3 plates at 50 health each, 300 total. So that's all subject to change, obviously, if they do things differently with Warzone, but this just gives you an idea how the weapons would perform against 300 health. So you have your time to kill here in milliseconds. The fastest time to kill is going to be in red. Within 50 milliseconds of that fastest time is going to be orange. Within 100 is yellow. Within 150 is light green. Within 200 is dark green. 250 light blue. 300 dark blue. So on and so forth, all the way down to 1,000 milliseconds. Purely blacked out. Anything 1,000 plus milliseconds is obviously not worth using, but that would be blacked out. So those are going to be your time to kill values and how they compare. It just gives me a visual representation of what guns are better in what situations, that kind of stuff. So we're just going to go through the weapon balancing changes and how it affects the time to kill. So the first weapon was the Holger 556. They decreased the headshot damage multiplier from 1.4 to 1.3, so that dropped the headshot damage a little bit there. They decreased neck, upper torso, arm, and hand damage multipliers from 1.1 to 1, so that makes this upper torso the same as the regular torso, whereas it used to be a little bit higher. And they also increased sprint to fire time from 210 milliseconds to 231 milliseconds. So 231 there. So if you look at the time to kill chart, it didn't affect this first damage range at all, but it did change the longer ranges. So it used to be 306 milliseconds all the way out to infinity on the body, whereas now it's going to take one more shot to kill, so it'll be 408 milliseconds. So it's not nearly as good as it was at those longer ranges, where it used to be better than everything by a mile. So now it's not the best anymore at those ranges. MTZ 556 beats it out in pure time to kill, but obviously recoil and all that make a difference as well, because MTZ 556 has quite a bit more recoil. But Holger 556 just not as good as it used to be at those longer ranges, especially. And then if you look at the Warzone time to kill, so this changed the upper damage time to kill. This used to be 612, now it's 714, so it's not that great up close if you're hitting anywhere in the body besides head, but it's still really good at longer range. So basically it's just more of a longer range weapon, not as great up close for Warzone, but it's still one of the best up close in multiplayer and at long range as well. It's just not as good as it was before, because 306 milliseconds out to any range is lightning fast for a time to kill if you can hit all those bullets. Not always possible, but if you do hit those bullets, that's very, very fast time to kill. Nothing else came close. So it's more in line with other guns. Still one of the best, just not as good as it was before. That's the Holger 556. They nerfed the DG58 burst rifle. So they decreased the maximum damage from 44 to 40. So this torso used to be 44, now it's 40. They decreased the medium damage from 35 to 33. So that'll be somewhere over here. They decreased neck damage multiplier from 1.4 to 1.1. So it's no longer a high damage to the neck. I believe that was the same multiplier as the head. So now it's a much lower damage to the neck. Whereas before, if you hit either the neck or the head, it was the same damage. And they increased the burst delay from 100 milliseconds to 120 milliseconds. So I don't have time to kill on the burst guns because the stats they have in there for rate of fire don't make any sense. Even if you were to do it by a burst times 3, 630 rounds per minute, doesn't make sense either. So supposedly within the burst it's like 900 millisecond or 900 rounds per minute, and then the 120 millisecond delay, but that's too much math for me. So so basically it's just a 3-shot. So 1 burst to the head, but requires 2 bursts anywhere to the body. It used to be all you needed to do was hit 1 headshot to get a 1 burst, but now it requires 2 headshots, so that's going to be a lot more difficult. And then beyond that, it's always going to be a 2 burst here. So 6 shots is 2 bursts, 4 shots is 2 bursts. So past that 35-meter range is always going to be a 2 burst no matter where you're hitting them. And then in the Warzone side, it's a 2 burst, 3 burst, 3 burst, 2 burst, 3 burst, 4 burst, 3 burst, 4 burst, 4 burst. So more shots to kill because damage isn't as high. Going to usually take 1 more burst than it used to, and it's not as easy to hit that 1 burst kill since it requires 2 headshots now. So not going to get deleted as quickly or as often with the DG58 as before. Still possible, but not as easy to do. The FR556 also got a nerf, so they decreased the maximum damage from 44 to 43. It's not a big thing there. This used to be 44 damage. Decreased near medium damage from 40 to 36, so somewhere over here. It used to be 40 damage. And then decreased minimum damage from 36 to 33, so this used to be 36. They decreased headshot damage multiplier from 1.5 to 1.4, so this is a little bit less damage. These are going to be a little bit less damage as well. Decreased leg and foot damage multipliers from 1 to 0.9, so now if you're hitting them in the leg or below, you're going to be doing even less damage than this minimum damage, whereas before it was the same. They increased aim down sights time from 240 milliseconds to 260, and they increased the sprint to fire time from 210 to 231. So got quite a bit of nerfs there. So if you look at shots to kill here, so it's a 1 burst to the head out to about 50 meters, and then it's going to be 2 bursts everywhere else. So same thing with this one. It used to be if you got 1 headshot in that burst, you could 1 burst them. So 2 to the body, 1 to the head, and it's 1 burst, whereas now it takes 2 headshots to get a 1 burst to the body within that maximum damage range. So out to about 45 meters. If you can get 2 headshots in there, you can still 1 burst them, but other than that, it's going to take 2 bursts. So a little bit harder there. And then at 300 health, 2 burst, 3 burst, 2 burst, 3 burst, 3 burst, 4 burst. So extra burst there. Nerfed it pretty hard there. I don't think that one was as necessary as the DG58, but they're probably just trying to get ahead of themselves, because FR556 probably would have just taken over the DG58 if they didn't nerf that. And then we got the Striker SMG. So we got SMGs here. They increased the maximum damage range from 9 meters to 19 meters. So used to only be this damage out to here, but now it goes out to almost 20 meters, so 19 meters. They increased near to medium damage from 33 to 36. So if I'm reading this correctly, that would mean this next damage drop off would be the same damage as the first drop off, so that would push out the maximum damage range even further, but that doesn't really make any sense. So I haven't really gone into too much detail in that, so not too sure on what that means exactly, because then that would just mean the first damage range would be even farther out than it was before. They increased far to medium damage from 27 to 33, so I don't know where that would be. And they decreased aim down sights time from 240 to 230 milliseconds. So what are we at here? Yeah, 230. So if you look at the time to kill here, it doesn't change anything as far as time to kill goes. It just pushes out to a farther range. So it used to be a lot shorter time to kill, 279. Now you can get double the range there. Potentially more if I'm reading this correctly, but that doesn't really make any sense. So we'll just leave it alone until we get the actual stats. And then if you look at against 300 health, where did I go? Too far. Same thing. So Doesn't change the time to kill, it just pushes out the potential to 19 meters instead of 9 meters. So striker, a little bit better. Still not the greatest, but definitely better than it was before. Just not as good as it was when it was in beta. The AMR-9 submachine gun, they increased lower torso, lower arm, and hand damage multipliers from 1 to 1.1. So this used to be a lower damage than your upper torso, but now it's the same. And they decreased sprint to fire time from 294 milliseconds to 206 milliseconds. So a lot faster sprint to fire time, a lot more in line with SMGs. 294 milliseconds for sprint to fire is terrible. That's really slow. It's even slower than assault rifles. So this brings it more in line to like assault rifles. So still not as fast as like the SMGs are, but that's more like an assault rifle. So yeah, AMR-9. What does that change? So I'm not sure if it changed this time to kill at all, but it does do more damage, so it's more forgiving to the torso, whereas it used to do less damage to the lower torso compared to the upper torso. I know it did change this, so this used to be one more shot to kill, so it does make time to kill faster at 300 health against torso, arms, and such, but I don't think it affected the multiplayer time to kill. It's just a little more forgiving since you're able to do the same damage to the lower torso as you were to the upper torso. And then they nerfed the Striker 9, so they decreased maximum damage from 32 to 27. So that would be like the leg damage. So they only have headshot, upper torso, and lower torso on the in-game stats, but base damage would be like the lowest damage possible, which is sometimes legs. So not all of them have like lower leg damage, but some of them do. It's just too many things, so we're just going to stick with the HUT for now. But the lowest damage possible would be 27 to like the legs, and it used to be 32, so it's quite a big nerf there. It does affect everything else as well because it's all based on multipliers, body shot multipliers. So 32 times 1.1 would be like 35, but now it's 27 times 1.1, so it's 29. So instead of doing 35 to the torso, you're doing 29. Same for headshot. This would have been a lot higher, so like 40-ish. And then they also decreased aim down sights time from 275 to 225. So faster aim down sights, but a lot less damage. So this makes it a lot slower time to kill wise, even in multiplayer. So 350 milliseconds is pretty bad, whereas before it was really good. So now it's not very good at all. And then 300 health, it's really bad, so it doesn't compete with really anything, even up close. So they nerfed it pretty hard. I don't really know why they did that, but they did. So yeah, those are the changes to the time to kill. If you want to look at anything else, I'll just scroll through everything real quick so you can take a look at what we all got in here. But yeah, it's still a work in progress. Not all of the stats make any sense to me, so like the shotgun damage and stuff like that don't make sense. I would assume it's damage per pellet, but it doesn't say how many pellets you have. You got sniper rifles in there too, and then all your stats here if you wanted to check them in the game as well. So yeah, those are the changes. So the highlight of this balance pass is a reduction to the lethality of the FR556 and the DG58. Both weapons will now require 2 headshots to kill an enemy with a single 3-round burst, whereas before it used to be one headshot for a 3-round burst. Additionally, these changes aim to improve the consistency and viability of submachine guns to the intended target for the class. So SMGs, I don't think really they didn't really change too much there, other than nerfing the Striker 9 into oblivion. And then yeah, so definitely nerfed the effectiveness of the burst rifle, so it's not as easy to get that one burst. And then Holger 556, not as good as it was at range, but still one of the best. And then SMGs, not really too much change there. So the Striker, not really a big change, just increased the damage range, but the Striker 9 got nerfed pretty hard. So but yeah, those are the changes. I'll try to stay on top of everything as they release. Hopefully sim.gg gets all the data mine stats, so it's easier to compile everything and have all this all the information as opposed to having to go around and gather all the stats from everywhere that I can to try to complete this. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. And I'll have a link in the description as well to the spreadsheet if you want to keep an eye on it. So I'm updating it as I gather information, so it's always changing. But anytime there's a major update where they do balance changes and stuff, I'll do a new video. And that way you can see the new numbers and all that. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.